Welcome to Werewolf the Podcast, serial killer drama. Oh, no, that's already said that, hasn't it? So I don't know why I'm saying that again, but it's already said it, so it's there. Go down to the description and stuff, because there's things in the description that you can get described to you by reading it, and then go to links and things, and we've got like stuff down there that you can read, and then you can like do stuff, so that'd be ace. So there's a description, just there down there, that's it. No, just to the left of that. Great. Enjoy.
From somewhere out in the cosmic endlessness. Shit. That's a really hard word to try and stop saying. Anyway, sorry about that. From wherever we are, or coming from, or whatever, we zoom in on a not-so-bright star, sitting in a boring, bog-standard solar system in the never-ending darkness. And never-ending is much easier to say than endlessness. I know. A bit dull so far. But dull is a lot of life, and you'll see that that's a hint. The life word, as to why we're doing this. And remember, we've not got where we're going yet. Oh, and this is no Douglas Adams ripoff. Honest, you'll see that we're falling into something a little out of his pantheon of premises. Give it a chance. It might be a really cosmic description. Utterly out of this world writing. Right. Now I'll continue, as we've established a reason for this narrative introduction. What do you mean we haven't? Life! Jesus, you lot, keep up! We fly past some spherical lumps, being jarred off course by the gravity of these spinning masses. These are the planets. Do we count Pluto now? I mean, it seems to change every now and then. I'm going to count it. We pass a bit too close to the seventh and largest planet for my liking. Its immense gravity, well, it almost makes us crash into Uranus. Oh, come on. We had to make a Uranus joke. Anyway, we came very close to Uranus. Okay. Okay, let's get back to where we need to be. We focus on the third planet, a blue pearl in the listener's imaginary eye. We get closer and closer, dodging the space trash that orbits our little world. Yes, this is planet Earth, which is mainly covered by water. Strange, that. We now drop through the atmosphere, which gets denser as we now fall towards our destination. A fluffy cloud layer hides any detail of the surface below from us. We'll not be able to see anything until we drop through the damp, watery clouds that somehow float in the sky. I think they're a conspiracy myself. Water can't float. Even sounds like an oxymoron. Yeah, okay. And people say that I've gone mad when I talk about the flying pig I sometimes see. Yes. I could introduce them to Jeremy. Can't introduce me to flying bloody water, can you? Yeah. We break through the cloud and find ourselves over a quintessential English forest. Or is it perhaps woodland? Apparently size does matter when it comes to wood. Land. Oh, come on. Why is the writing so smutty this week? Who's writing this? Okay. Him. Well, that makes sense now. Dirty bastard. We break through the canopy of trees and slow down dramatically as we take in the scene. The forest floor is covered in flowers, green lichens and mosses. Hang on a minute. Green lichens? Oh, not green werewolves, then?
No.
Anyway, this is the perfect fairy tale scene. The bluebirds are screaming their threats and sexual libations. A gnome sits with his silent G beneath a small home carved from a fairy tale mushroom, watching the teeny tiny green fairy as she does her work. He somehow has a small bag of popcorn. I don't understand that reference, but we don't have time to question why the gnome has a small bag of popcorn, so he does. Let's move on. Errol, with the silent G, the gnome, has to admit to himself that they work hard and are good at their jobs. Fairies, that is. Although this is a job that he'd never seen a fairy undertake before. It was interesting. And the popcorn was good.
Fairy Foxglove. Give me the gold, you bastard! You owe me!
I don't have it.
Where do you think that I get this fairy dust from? Do you think it just drops out my butt? Huh? Huh?
I don't have it.
Well, actually, it sort of does. No, not my butt, but that's none of your business. It's more complicated than shaking your butt. There are certain things we have to do, and they are not all that pleasant. It's often a very uncomfortable sensation after, well, you empty. It affects your flight style.
I don't have it.
Well, say something.
I don't have it.
The girls and I need that gold. And if you do that old enchanted switcheroo fucking bollocks that you did before, oh, I'll cut your fucking balls off and beat you to death with them.
I don't have it.
Don't test me, you. Have you heard how things that cheat me are even treated?
Uh-huh. Nope.
I'm standing with my dainty little well-pedicured toes planted on the ogre's chest. Bert was already a bit of a mess. He was a fairy dust freak, a total glitter hitter. I could see it in his eyes, but a girl is to make a living in this world too. And when you're 6 inches high and reliant on small children to keep you existing, you have to do what you have to do. In this case, that was Bert. He was gonna get done. I said, have you heard about anyone who has ever cheated me? Bert shook his head. Those glazed, glossy, sparkly eyes betrayed the fact that he was coming down and he needed a sniff. He tried to get one of his noses near my foot. Disgusting duckhead. Duckhead? Dusthead. I teased him for a moment, letting him think I would allow him to sniff my tiny little green sparkly dusty feet. My flawless skin. Then I dropped my body weight on him. He groaned at the impact. We fairies are dense. In reality, I weigh about 15 grams. But we're not in reality here. And I had recently seen a not-so-nice necromancer that we were working with who gave me a spell that I can use when needed to provide me with a mass of a neutron star when required. It meant I became a veritable mass if I hit you when flying at top speed. it did turn out to be a very not so nice necromancer. I mean, do you think there is such a thing as a nice necromancer? Well, I mean, he was a bit clingy. We fucked a few times, but I was not interested in becoming his dread queen or whatever. He stank of formaldehyde, too. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, he had to go. You feel me, young bloods? See, I have the gangster chat. Anyway, where was I? Oh, yes. Why am I the heavyweight fairy in all the ways that weight can be used as a metaphor? Feel free to make your own jokes about my weight if you want, but make sure I don't hear it. I mean, I'm pretty insecure about my image and have been laughed at for eternity for being itsy bitsy, cutesy, and sweet, but you pick your own battles. I am not a fucking Teletubby. So to counter that, I have developed a dangerous set of skills to deal with those who laugh at me. Skills that I like to use. I mean, I really like to use them. There are centuries of pent-up aggression in this tiny but perfect frame. It has led to my nickname in the Fae community. That fucking unhinged cunty killer, or fuck for short. I like that name a lot, a real lot. It suits me and all. Fuck, in every way that the word fuck has meaning in the human language. But I speak fairy at home. Do you know what fuck is in fairy language? Well, it's fuck, you idiot. Do you actually imagine that there is a word for fuck in fairy language? I mean, really? Goddamn fucking humans. So, Bert, this is how it goes. You have one option and one option only. I need you to pay. But instead of paying me gold, I have a job for you. Now, it's not a nice job. And it's not an easy job, but it's a job that you will do, or I will not only kill you, but I will have to do it in a way that will haunt me for the rest of my life. And I have seen some awful torture and destruction of folk, and most of that was thought up and done by me. I have given myself PTSD, so I am only hanging on by a thread. So you will take the job. You will. You will. Won't you, Bert? Bert's eyes were full of tears and fears. He nodded, but I again dug my teeny tiny toesy woesies into his chest to make him feel a little more uncomfortable in the moment. The worst thing about doing this kind of thing, the beating, scarring, and murdering of those who cheat me, is that it has now become such a rare thing for me to need to do. The only creatures that cheat me these days are the exceptionally stupid. And I'm not saying that ogres are stupid. They are often as bright as a very dull, table. But Bert was not even under a table in comparison to the world's brightest tables. This particular ogre could not get a participation certificate in an IQ test. Let's describe Bert for those readers who have not seen an ogre. And Bert is not short for Albert either. No, his mommy wanted more for him. So they named him after her favorite philosopher, Bertram. No, not Bertram Russell, Bertram Fishbarrel, the famous purveyor of fine fish. Number 267, Hinkley Drive, Keighley. She had once heard the shop owner spout some wisdom when she was in the alley behind his shop, where he would pass her his delicious bags of rotten fish guts.
There's plenty more fish in sea, Doris.
This seemed wise and true. He should have known about fish. She thought him to be a true brainy person. Well, fish is brain food after all, and Bertram seemed the right kind of man to name her child after. Bertram, the fishmonger, not the child, knew Bertram's, the ogre, not the fishmonger's, mum as Doris. Bertram's mum was called Doris in this case because she was really called Mrs. Splatterbitch. Yeah. Doris rightly thought this would cause less offense in a semi-polite conversation. You know, being called Doris, not Splatterbitch. I'll be honest in my description of an ogre. If you've seen an ogre, I mean, in most cases, you wouldn't be listening to this. You'd be dead. He's about 20 feet tall and about 20 feet wide. I would tell you in meters, but I cannot be arsed. To be honest, just do the maths yourselves, you lazy bastards. He's man-shaped. Ish. Well, at least in the basic limb and head department. 2 legs, 2 arms, and a single head. It's not always that case that they have a single head, but in Bertram's case, that was probably a blessing. As having 2 brains, like this one on our ogre, well, that would have just made him twice as stupid. He is massive and looks like he's made from bits and pieces of the organic world. He is basically a pile of walking rubbish, garbage, refuse. You can tell Bert is not doing too well health-wise either. He smells, well, he just smells pretty nice. Yeah, actually, this is the sign in the ogre world that he is not well. Oh, and he's going to get worse. Before we continue torturing a fairy dust tutor, let me fully introduce myself. Oh, we've met in a prior podcast or 2 already. I am the, notice the double E in the, Fairy Foxglove, and I have risen to the top of the Flower Fairy faction through infighting, fear-mongering, and sheer fucking my way to the top. I'm a good fucker too, if I do say so myself, hence the nickname. The Flower Fairy faction is not a brand of toy dolls made by Hasbro or some Disney-fied bullshit film. We are the real deal, a true power player in the Fae world and a fighting force majeure in the general world. Once upon a time, there's another fairy tale cliche. Every fucker took the piss out of fairy kind. We could be destroyed by disbelief and general negativity. Einstein discovered general negativity, but he never got a right about it. We got to him first. Fucking fluffy-headed bastard. Not clever enough to escape a fairy, are ya? Ah! Well, let me tell you, there is only so long that you can be a victim and a source of pity for children. Eventually, you have to take your existence into your own goddamn hands, which is what I am doing. I am the force for my sisters in arms and wings. We run several things in the naughty Fae world, and I will go into them because you're not going to tell anyone, are you? If you did, who would believe you? It would be also, getting back to me, and you would not be sorry. You'd just be gone. The forest needs fertilizer, and you make good organic fertilizer for my little flowers. So, as we have previously mentioned, we produce a sparkly dust that helps us fly. It's called foof pulvers. What we found out quite early in our lives is that other Fae creatures of the world liked our foof powder, and that they would capture and kill fairies to get a sniff of foof. So it actually turns out that the cutesy kind of fairy thing that's heavily portrayed in fairy tales and stories and movies, yeah, it's actually kind of true. So we didn't do anything but just die in, like, the largest numbers you can possibly think of. I mean, what the fuck could we do? Well, turns out we could get pissed off and we could fight back, and we did. We can withhold our foof powder. I won't go into detail about how we excrete it, but it's a bit, personal, so you're not getting to know. And there's a reason why it is called foof powder. We found allies in the Feyworld. They would be paid in our powder, for their help, and then we would slowly withdraw it, and they worked for us instead. We supplied a limited amount of foof for unlimited power. Now, we run this shit from behind the scenes while flitting through the fucking flowers. We then extended our reach. You have to be friendly and loved by the wee kitties, don't you? You have to be believed in, to exist. Well, you try and be believed in by kids who have access to porn on the internet as soon as they can hold a bloody tablet. How many 6-year-olds can access the world of drugs, sex, and violence? All of them! Duh! That means we needed to kick the innocent fairy crap to one side. No longer the cute and sweet. Now we are cruel and sinful. We took what we needed and... well, we did save their innocence in the process. We took those children and saved them from a world of sin. Yes, we did. No porn, no sex. We took them from the orphanages. We took them from the problem families. Then we would have nothing but just 100% belief in fairies. Tied in chairs and forced to watch Peter Pan movies on loop. Oh, we're not heartless. We let them watch a number of different versions. We also keep them hopped up and stimmed out on relevant drugs. Foof powder doesn't work on kids. Well, it makes them fly, but that's boring. We can all do that. Oh no, you losers can you? You're so fucking pathetic. We protect the kitties until they're 16, and then we release them back into the wild, the world they came from. Well, that's the theory. They don't actually usually live for more than a few months. We do try, though, to keep them alive. We feed them and everything. We do, quite regularly, actually. The fairy foundling farms are hidden quite well in the urban sprawl of society. It's not difficult to hide them. We found that humans, because they have factory farms for pigs and chickens and... blah, blah, blah. We can easily hide our own factory farms for kids. Just like amongst them. They look and smell the same. The factories, not the pigs and the kids. However, they do eventually... after a while, the pigs and kids, they smell the same. And I believe, actually, they do taste the same. Not being a carnivore, I wouldn't know. Not something I've tried yet. But yeah, I have heard that. We can also get rid of the bodies with the distribution service that the meat industry provides, or just feed them directly to the pigs. Often easier. The tooth fairies make great savings sifting through the pig shit for toothies, rather than paying spoiled little bastard for bits that fall out of them naturally anyway. I find it a bit weird that they sift through the pig shit myself, but they say that they say that they would find it harder if they had to use pliers to rip them out of the head. That's just really weird. Why would that be hard? I do not think that this is the end of business. This is all in recent Fae history. We are already talking with the Vampire Nation about having their food source as a byproduct of the farms. Also, a lot of different dark arts need different body parts and for their work. We're always taking business further and further. This time next year, this little 6-inch high green bitch is gonna run this world. This Fae world. Respect the fairy. Believe in the fairy, because the fairies believe in you, and that belief in you is dangerous. Now let's go back to Bertram and his powder problem. I don't don't need to do this hands-on shit anymore, but I love it. I love getting thousands of years of anger and revulsion out of my system and giving it back to the creatures, especially the bigger ones like Bert, who used to squash us for fun. Bart himself did one of the Dandelion Sisters in, so I have a good reason to show the big dumb fuck no bloody mercy. I don't need that good a reason, but the good reason is that I get away with it, and I like it. You fucking giant! You're gonna grab someone for me, Bertram!
Bozzy. Well, that were right interesting, that last few episodes, huh? I was talking to groups sitting at Fairton Arms Bar. They all had their respective drinks, attitudes and relative fear values. They would have made a fine sort of high-level Dungeons and Dragons party. There were Professor, Will and his wolf soul Fen, Satan, and that damn Fairy Foxglove. They'd finished the song, obviously check, Christmas episode. It was actually really good. I mean, they did Fairy Tale in New York, obviously, but don't worry about the tawdry lyrics of the original. This version had been rewritten by that same skillful and eloquent writer that is writing this fucking bit. And so he says. They'd all been drinking right bloody heavily, and Will and Professor had been drinking heavily for sort of mortals. I knew that Will, with his werewolfy powers, could sober himself with a thought, but that thought was the last thing on his mind tonight, and he wasn't a prof where in this country, well, we'd describe him as being pissed. I know that don't mean same thing in America. Being pissed in America means angry, but it means very drunk in UK. Well, these two were beyond pissed. How would we describe it then, Wrecked? Yeah, wrecked. Seems like a suitable step up. Yeah, wrecked describes what they were very well. One of the reasons I like my pub, the Fairton Arms, is because it's the only place on all the planes where these characters could get wrecked safely together. Well, safely-ish. Satan herself had been sipping slightly. She was a proper class act, that one, and I don't think that she's affected by alcohol in the slightest, to be honest. I suppose she can't be. Wouldn't make no sense, would it, if she did? She strikes me as type of immortal monstrosity that could drink to excess. The slightly underdressed body that she let me see tonight was, of course, my perfect fantasy. It's what you see when you look at Devil. You see the thing you want, to be lustful for. In my case, she was a beautiful Persian princess. Coffee-coloured skin, long dark hair, eyes the colour of a desert sunset, and a right tidy arse. She were damn gradely. Professor, on the other hand, well, he could drink himself into a coma. He had several times. In fact, I knew a couple of occasions where he drank himself to being, dead. I suppose being immortal in his case has its benefits. I suppose, but according to him, even if he drank himself to death, he would still have the hangover for his night's work. It's a bit of a bastard, eh? God really knows his shit. His punishment for Professor was all-inclusive. He were perfect English gentleman, perfectly tailored, perfectly groomed, with perfect posture and fucking perfect politeness. I mean, I should hate him with a vehemence, me being from, working class stock, but sadly, he was a right great bloke. Aye. And then there were that fucking fairy. I hate fucking fairies. I used to like them, and you wouldn't find them in pub 20 years ago. They were always out there helping kids when lost in forest, washing up at night for granny, flitting about and doing flitting things. I hear that they used to lay down dew as they flew. I don't know what that dew is, but I won't lick no surface that's been put on. But do you know what? They were lovely. Then there suddenly arrived in Unreal Realm the Flower Fairy faction. Bloody rumours were rife, and rumours were fucking terrifying. Fairy dust was a much-used drug in fair world in past. In past, the fairies were poorly treated to get it, I must admit. Some stories were tragic, but things had changed recently with the arrival of the fucking Triple F. The price of dust had hit an all-time high and fairies were in charge of it. The monsters that would make the fairies' lives hard and full of fear were, well, no, terrified of the tiny winged women. Wide berths were given to them, but fairies knew it. They now revelled in their newfound power. Suppose you can't blame them, though. I think I would do same if I had their bloody history. And this was the fairy, notice double E. This was fucking Fairy Foxglove, the most toxic and dangerous one of them all. She had the power to stop your heart, and she had not been drinking heavily. No, I don't know a word for the way that fairies drink. It's fucking inconceivable that they can put away the volume of booze that they can. They're big enough to sit in a pint glass, yet their bodies seem to be able to hold gallons of the good stuff. I mean, literally gallons of 43% proof vodka in her case. She was loud and leery, and I would have to step in at some point to sort her out. I really would. Being the only landlord in Netherworlds means that I had a lot of power, you know. Worst thing for a cryptid, fae, entity or whatever was to be barred from the Phaeton Arms. So if I stepped in, she would need to listen. This is my bloody place, and my considerable ability with the old magic runs it. She was going to get telt, and I was going to fucking enjoy it.